Your silence after their rejection is not weakness, it is power. In a world where everyone reacts immediately, explains themselves and chases validation, silence becomes something rare. When someone rejects you, most people expect you to argue, plead, defend yourself, or try to change their mind. They expect emotion, they expect reaction. But when you give them nothing but calm distance, something unusual begins to happen. Your silence creates space for reflection, curiosity, and sometimes even regret. Stoic philosophy teaches that your peace should never depend on the approval of others. When someone rejects you, it simply means their perspective, needs, or understanding does not align with yours in that moment. It does not reduce your value. It does not define your worth. When you stay silent, instead of chasing after their approval, you demonstrate emotional discipline. This discipline shows strength, and strength is something people often recognize only after they lose access to it. Silence forces people to confront their own decisions. When someone rejects you and you disappear quietly instead of arguing, they are left alone with their thoughts. There is no drama to distract them. There is no emotional fight to justify their decision. Instead, there is only time. Time makes people replay conversations in their minds. They begin to wonder if they judged you too quickly or misunderstood your intentions. Many people secretly expect that rejection will give them power over you. They expect to see you trying harder to earn their attention. When that reaction never comes, it disrupts their expectations. Suddenly, the dynamic changes. Your silence removes the control they believed they had. It sends a message that your life continues, your focus remains intact, and your value does not depend on their acceptance. Stoicism reminds us that our energy should only be spent on what we can control. You cannot control someone else's feelings, choices, or opinions, but you can control your response. Silence becomes a powerful response because it protects your emotional energy. Instead of chasing someone who has already made a decision, you invest that time into your growth, your work, and your peace. When people notice your silence, curiosity begins to grow. They may check your social media. They may ask mutual friends about you. They may replay old conversations wondering what you are doing now. The absence of your presence becomes louder than any message you could have sent. This is the quiet power of restraint. Stoics understood that dignity often lies in what you refuse to do. You refuse to beg. You refuse to argue endlessly. You refuse to prove your worth to someone who has already decided not to see it. By stepping back and choosing silence, you maintain your self-respect. And self-respect is something people often notice too late. Silence also allows you to heal. Rejection can be painful, and reacting immediately often leads to words spoken from emotion rather than wisdom. When you stay quiet, you give yourself time to process the situation calmly. Instead of acting from hurt, you begin to understand that rejection is simply part of life. Even the greatest thinkers, leaders, and creators faced rejection many times. When someone eventually notices your absence, they begin to question their assumptions. They might have expected anger, sadness, or desperation. Instead, they see composure. That composure can create respect where there was once indifference. Sometimes it even creates attraction where there was once doubt. However, Stoicism does not teach silence as a strategy to manipulate others. The goal is not revenge or emotional games. The true purpose of silence is self-mastery. It is about protecting your dignity and focusing on what truly matters in your life. When your motivation is inner strength rather than validation, your silence becomes authentic. As time passes, people often realize the value of what they once dismissed. Human psychology tends to appreciate things more after they are gone. When your attention, kindness, and presence are no longer available, their absence becomes noticeable. This realization does not always bring someone back, but it often changes the way they remember you. While they are thinking about the past, you should be building your future. This is the most important Stoic lesson. Your life must not pause because someone rejected you. Use that energy to improve your mindset, your goals, and your personal growth. Read more, learn more, strengthen your discipline. Build a life so meaningful that rejection becomes a small event in a much bigger story. There is a deep confidence that comes from knowing you do not need to chase anyone. When you accept that the right people will recognize your value without persuasion, you stop wasting energy on those who cannot see it. This mindset makes you calmer, more focused, and more attractive as a person. Your silence also teaches others how to treat you. If someone rejects you and you immediately begin chasing them again, it signals that your boundaries are weak. But when you step away with quiet dignity, you show that your time and energy are valuable. People tend to respect what is not easily available. Sometimes your silence may cause someone to reach out again. They may send a message asking how you are. They may try to reconnect. If that moment comes, your Stoic mindset will guide you. You will respond with calm awareness rather than emotional attachment. You will decide whether their presence truly adds value to your life, and if they never return, that is also acceptable. Stoicism teaches acceptance of reality. Not every connection is meant to last. Some people enter our lives only to teach us lessons about boundaries, self-respect, and emotional strength. When you understand this, rejection becomes less painful and more instructive. Silence also protects you from unnecessary conflict. Many arguments after rejection happen because both sides try to defend their pride. Words are exchanged that later create regret. By remaining silent, you avoid these emotional traps. You walk away with your dignity intact. There is also something deeply attractive about someone who does not feel the need to prove themselves. Confidence without noise is rare. Many people talk endlessly about their value, but very few simply live it. Your silence becomes a quiet statement that your life speaks for itself. Stoic thinkers often practiced emotional discipline by pausing before reacting. They understood that the strongest response is often patience. When you pause and remain silent, you allow wisdom to guide your actions instead of impulse. This habit gradually builds mental strength. As you continue living your life peacefully, the rejection that once felt heavy begins to lose its weight. New opportunities appear, new relationships form, new goals demand your attention. Slowly you realize that the person who rejected you was only one chapter in a much larger journey. Your silence becomes part of your transformation. It represents the moment you chose growth over desperation. Instead of chasing someone who walked away, you chose to invest in yourself. That decision alone separates those who remain stuck from those who evolve. Many viewers watching this may have recently faced rejection and feel tempted to prove their worth. But remember this Stoic truth: your worth does not require proof. The right people will recognize it naturally. Your responsibility is simply to live according to your values and maintain your self-respect. Rejection often reveals more about the other person than about you. It reflects their preferences, their emotional state, and their perspective at that moment in time. When you understand this, you stop personalizing every rejection. You realize that life is simply guiding you toward people who align with your path. Silence also creates emotional clarity. When you step back from someone who rejected you, you gain the ability to observe the relationship more objectively. You begin to see patterns you might have ignored before. Sometimes you realize that the rejection saved you from a connection that would not have served your growth. The Stoic mindset encourages gratitude even in difficult moments. Instead of viewing rejection as failure, you can see it as redirection. Every closed door forces you to walk toward another path, and often that path leads to better opportunities than the one you originally wanted. If you maintain your silence long enough, you will notice something interesting. The pain fades faster than expected. Your focus shifts naturally toward things that bring fulfillment. Work, learning, friendships, and personal goals begin to occupy your mind. Life expands again. People who once rejected you may eventually notice this transformation. They might see your progress, your calm attitude, and your independence. At that point, your silence has already done its work. Whether they return or not no longer matters because you have already moved forward. The greatest victory is not making someone regret rejecting you. The real victory is becoming so strong and peaceful that their decision no longer affects your happiness. That is the ultimate Stoic success. Your silence after rejection is not about punishment. It is about self-respect. It is about protecting your peace and refusing to beg for recognition. When you embrace this mindset, you free yourself from emotional dependence on other people's approval. Every day you choose silence over desperation, you strengthen your character. Every moment you invest in your growth instead of chasing validation, you become a stronger version of yourself. Over time, this quiet discipline shapes your entire life. Many of the most respected individuals throughout history mastered the art of calm restraint. They understood that reacting to every situation weakens focus. But choosing thoughtful silence allows the mind to remain clear and powerful. So if someone has rejected you recently, remember this Stoic perspective. You do not need to argue, chase, or prove anything. Your silence is already speaking. It communicates self-control, dignity, and confidence. And while they may spend time wondering about your absence, you will be busy building a life that does not depend on their opinion. Your silence after rejection also teaches you one of the most powerful lessons of Stoicism, emotional independence. Most people are raised in a world where their value feels connected to how others treat them. Compliments make them feel worthy, while rejection makes them question themselves. But the Stoic mindset encourages something deeper. It teaches you to separate your identity from the opinions of others. When someone rejects you and you remain silent, you begin practicing this independence in a real and powerful way. Think about how most people respond after rejection. They send long messages trying to explain themselves. They ask for another chance. They attempt to convince the other person that they are worth loving or respecting. But this approach often weakens their position, not because they are wrong for caring, but because they are placing their value in someone else's hands. Silence, on the other hand, keeps your value where it belongs, within you. When you choose silence, you are telling yourself something important. My worth does not decrease because someone failed to see it. This belief becomes the foundation of strong character. It allows you to walk through life without constantly seeking approval, and people can sense that kind of confidence from a distance. Another powerful effect of silence is that it removes emotional noise. When rejection happens, emotions can become intense. You might feel anger, sadness, confusion, or disappointment. If you react immediately, those emotions often guide your words and actions. Later, many people regret what they said during those moments. Stoicism encourages pause. Silence creates that pause. During this quiet period, your mind begins to settle. You gain perspective. What once felt like a personal attack starts to look more like a simple difference in choices. You realize that not every rejection is dramatic or meaningful. Sometimes it is simply life moving in different directions. Silence also forces growth in ways that emotional reaction cannot. When you stop focusing on the person who rejected you, you begin focusing on yourself. You begin asking deeper questions. How can I become stronger mentally? What habits can improve my life? What goals have I been ignoring? This shift in focus is where real transformation begins. Many successful people credit rejection as the moment that forced them to grow. Instead of chasing someone who did not value them, they invested that energy into building a better version of themselves. Over time, your silence begins to represent something powerful: self-control. Self-control is one of the highest virtues in Stoic philosophy. It means you do not allow emotions to control your behavior. It means you choose thoughtful action instead of impulsive reaction. People who master self-control become rare in today's world. Social media encourages constant reaction. Arguments happen instantly. Emotions are shared without reflection. In that environment, a person who remains calm and silent stands out. Silence also protects your dignity. Imagine two different scenarios. In the first, someone rejects you, and you immediately start sending emotional messages, trying to change their mind. In the second scenario, you simply accept their decision and quietly move forward with your life. Which person appears stronger? Most people naturally respect the person who walks away with calm confidence. Not because they do not feel pain, but because they handle that pain with maturity. This is something Stoic thinkers understood centuries ago. They believed that dignity is not something given by others. It is something you protect through your actions. When you refuse to beg for attention or approval, you preserve that dignity. Your silence also reveals an important truth about human nature. People often do not realize the value of something until it is gone. When you were present in someone's life, they might have taken your time, attention, or kindness for granted. But once that presence disappears, its absence becomes noticeable. Suddenly they begin remembering conversations. They remember moments of laughter or support. They remember the stability you brought into their life. These memories become stronger because they are no longer part of their daily experience. However, it is important to remember that your silence is not meant to punish anyone. Stoicism does not encourage revenge or emotional manipulation. The purpose of silence is personal strength, not psychological games. Your goal is not to make someone suffer. Your goal is to maintain your peace and dignity. When you understand this, your silence becomes calm rather than bitter. It is not filled with resentment. Instead, it becomes a quiet acceptance of reality. You accept that not everyone will choose you, and that is perfectly fine. This acceptance is liberating. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of trying to please everyone. You begin to realize that the right people will appreciate you naturally. They will not require endless convincing or effort. Another benefit of silence is that it protects your future opportunities. When people react emotionally to rejection, they sometimes damage relationships permanently. Angry words, accusations, or desperate messages can leave lasting impressions, but silence keeps the situation neutral. If the other person ever changes their perspective in the future, they will remember that you handled the situation with maturity. That memory can open doors that emotional reactions would have closed. Even if the relationship never returns, your reputation remains strong. People respect individuals who handle difficult moments with calmness. Your silence also becomes a form of emotional training. Every time you resist the urge to react impulsively, you strengthen your discipline. It is similar to exercising a muscle. At first it feels difficult. You may want to send a message or express your frustration. But each time you choose silence, you become stronger. Eventually, this discipline spreads into other areas of your life. You become more patient in arguments. You become calmer during stressful situations. You develop the ability to think clearly when others panic. This is why Stoicism places such importance on self-mastery. A person who controls their mind cannot easily be controlled by external events. Rejection then becomes something different. Instead of seeing it as an attack on your identity, you begin to see it as feedback from the world. It simply tells you that this particular connection or path was not meant for you at this moment. And when you accept that idea, you stop wasting time trying to force things that are not aligned with your life. Silence also gives you the opportunity to rebuild your focus. Often when people become emotionally invested in someone, they begin neglecting other parts of their life. Their goals slow down. Their attention shifts away from personal growth. Rejection can become the wake-up call that redirects your focus. Suddenly you have time again. Time to work on your ambitions. Time to strengthen friendships. Time to improve your health, knowledge, and mindset. This is why many people later say rejection was one of the best things that happened to them. It forced them to redirect their energy towards something more meaningful. As your life improves, the rejection that once hurt you begins to feel small. You start meeting new people, discovering new opportunities, and experiencing growth that would not have happened otherwise. Your silence becomes the beginning of a new chapter. And perhaps the most important Stoic lesson in all of this is acceptance. Not everything in life will go according to your plans. People will leave. Opportunities will disappear. Situations will change unexpectedly. But your strength lies in how you respond. If you respond with anger, desperation, or bitterness, you lose control of your peace. But if you respond with calm silence and steady progress, you remain in control of your life. That is the essence of Stoicism. Focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, and your character. Everything else belongs to the world. So if someone has rejected you, remember this simple truth. Their decision does not define your future. It only defines their choice in that moment. Your silence allows you to move forward with clarity, dignity, and strength. And as you continue walking your path with discipline and self-respect, you will eventually reach a point where rejection no longer feels like loss. Instead, it becomes a reminder that your journey is leading you toward people and opportunities that truly belong in your life. If this message resonates with you, and you want to continue learning how Stoic wisdom can strengthen your mindset and transform your life, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Join this growing community of people who are choosing discipline, clarity, and inner peace. Your support helps the channel reach more people who need this message. Stay strong, stay calm, and remember, sometimes the quietest response carries the greatest power.